Hey there, guys. Music fan here. How are you guys doing? Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and all that. Hope you had a great time and stayed safe and all that. So here I'm here to do like a really quick, really fast initial review of the new Arcade Fire album, Reflektor, released just recently. I believe like maybe 2 weeks ago, or probably like somewhere around there. I'm not that familiar. Anyway, this is the recent studio album from Canadian band Arcade Fire. Like for the past 10 years or so, or probably since 2004, has been a very hyped, much talked about band. And it really kind of culminated with their debut album Funeral that was released in 2004, often considered one of the best releases of the last 10 years or in the 21st century. Often considered one of the finest releases ever. And they followed with two more critically acclaimed albums, Neon Bible and The Suburbs. And so with this album particularly, we see the band kind of like going through very different recording avenues. Particularly, they start to get more experimental, and we previously knew the band from their more indie alternative rock type of style, their alternative indie rock type of musical rock and roll and all this different stuff. And what's very different about this album particularly is that it has a much experimental reggae style, although not very overtly. It has a more experimental, almost disco-ish like feel, especially the title track Reflektor, which I've been meaning on going on a song review about that weeks ago when it was first released, but I couldn't get to it until now. And for the most part, Reflektor, by the way, being a double album, two disc album, is very different. It's a very different record from the past three Arcade Fire albums, where the past three Arcade Fire albums you got, like I said, indie alternative rock, but really greatly and uniquely done. This one, on the other hand, is a completely different avenue for the band, and it's very different. First of which, they're like in the title track, for instance, there is a much greater emphasis on groove. There's a much greater fluidity. There's a much emphasis on Haitian music and reggae music, and rah-rah music, and it really greatly adds to the band's experimentation, to their exploring these different musical channels. If I heard correctly, the two main founders of the band, husband and wife, Win Butler and oh my gosh, I don't want to butcher her name, Regine. I think that's her name, Regine. Forgive me, Regine, if I butcher your name. I really don't mean to. But anyways, the duo, the main founders, like the main driving force behind this band, I read correctly that they went to Haiti and discovered a lot of this type of Haitian reggae type of music that was very prevalent around that particular country. And that particular style influenced the direction that the band wanted to take this new album, this fourth studio album, by the way. And it's a very entirely different affair for Arcade Fire for this album. Like I said before, emphasis on groove, emphasis on a little bit of dancing, although not overtly to the point of being disco. Like, if any of you guys seen the SNL performance of the band performing their title track, you'll probably know what I mean. They're a lot more fluid, dancier, more loose, freer, not necessarily confined to the indie alternative rock, which can be a big gamble considering that they've been greatly tooted on their their indie alternative rock earnestness and musings with that genre. So as far as this record's sound, considering that like it's a much experimental affair this time around. It's much more experimental, like I said, with the Haitian influence with their sound, and some songs here like Here Comes the Night, for instance, where it has the feel of a live performance. Like the next couple of songs from that, like, again, I'm not that familiar with the track order right now, but the next songs in the first disc really has a feel of live performance. It really feels that you're really there with the band performing. So the first disc, in my personal opinion, from listening to the album this particular morning today, is good. Is really, really good. They really lock in that experimental Haitian music influence into this album, into their sound, and they really do a really great job. They really keep the interest in mind. For me personally, at least, they really keep your interest peaked, even all the way until the end, particularly. Joan of Arc, for instance, it's not a song that, again, I only listened to this album this morning, but I'm not that familiar with it, so I can't really offer an opinion unless I re-listen to the album again. But it's a really good song. It's a really good closer to the first disc. The second disc, however, for me personally, it gets a little strange. It gets a little iffy. And it's a little bit slower paced than the first disc, which is kind of a bit of a letdown for me, because I really thought that they would have taken this experimentation with Haitian music and just expanded further on the second disc, kind of like the second disc of the Beatles' White Album, or the second disc of Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy, for instance. I really thought that they were going to go on expand on those influences and go further with the second disc, but they didn't really. And not that I don't mind any slow numbers on the new album, on the second disc particularly, but apart from the song Afterlife, which is really good, the rest of the other songs didn't really pique my interest. And I don't know, it's as if the band was trying very hard to try and create a mood and an atmosphere with the second disc that not that I got bored, but I kind of got a little bit disinterested in the second part. There was so many slow songs off the second disc that I couldn't really know what to do with them. And I think the last song of the second disc, again, excuse me, I'm not that familiar with the track listing, with the titles right now, so I don't really remember, but the second disc, I think, ends the same way as the first disc starts out. The first intro of the first disc starts out with the 10-minute intro, which is the longest intro I have ever heard, but it kind of it gives way to what the rest of the album sounds like. And I think the album, instead of ending it with a complete big bang, ends with a really kind of dour type of note for the second disc, and it really ends this set. And honestly, like, while I am appreciative of the album now, while I am appreciative that the Arcade Fire, expand their horizons and work with different things, especially with the first disc, which is awesome, the second disc, is kind of a mixed bag, for me. And, they really didn't add enough, or really didn't make too much of the, the songs are much slower. They're much more subdued and much more, very mellow in its instance. And it really kind of kills, for me personally, it kind of kills this experimental vibe that they were going with the first disc. And, so overall, like, Reflektor, again, this is initial review. Reflektor isn't really that bad. It's certainly not the worst thing the Arcade Fire has ever put out. Like, I mean, they haven't put out a worse album just yet, but I can't really say that for my initial impression of this record, that especially the second disc kind of takes it down a little bit. And, maybe repeated listens like months from now, or maybe weeks from now, depending on how long, might make it different for me. I might get a later impression of what, especially the second disc. Maybe the second disc will make a bigger impression with me the coming weeks and months, you know. But for now, this new studio album from the Arcade Fire gets a 3.5 out of 5. Definitely not the worst thing Arcade Fire has put out, but you know, the second disc, for me at least right now, doesn't do much of anything. The first disc is amazing, is really good, you know, like, but this new studio album kind of comes out a bit so for me, kind of like a bit 50-50 in a way, you know, but certainly I am thinking in the cornerstone of my brain, I am thinking of going on an Arcade Fire discography review sometime next year, because I just cannot do it this month. But certainly sometime next year, I don't know, spring or summer, I'm definitely thinking of an Arcade Fire discography review. And for sure, maybe my impressions with the new Reflektor album will change, or maybe will stay the same depending on how the album grows as any more times that I listen to it. But for now, it's just a 3.5 out of 5. Really great with the experimentation, but the slower songs just kind of bog it down for me. But anyway, this is just my initial review. Will likely change or maybe not change in the future. And this has been a quick review. So leave your comments in the comment section below. What do you think of the new Arcade Fire album? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Why? And if you like my reviews, rate, comment, and subscribe on the channel. And thanks a lot, guys, for watching this video and going to the channel. And until next time, Mr. Music Fan, take care, guys.